Welcome to the Virginia Citizens Defense League's 18th annual lobby day. Gun owners of all races and creeds from Virginia and across the country are here to stand in solidarity against gun control. I want to thank all of you for coming out on such a cold day.
Well, we won't back down. We're gonna stand our ground. We know you're trying to open the gates of hell, but we won't back down. So yes, we'll stand our ground. We won't be pushed around. We must keep you from putting our kids in the ground, so we can't stand down. No, we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't stand down, brother. So we'll stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. 'Cause we know what's right. And we got plenty of fight. And if you think you're gonna keep pushing us around, well, you'll lose that crown. 'Cause we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've gotta stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. You know, it's pretty clear that these lunatics think they have the right to strip us of our rights of self-defense. And if they're willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. No, we won't back down. Back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've gotta stand our ground. So we won't back down. No, we won't back down. Virginians, you won't fight this fight alone.
Hello, everybody. Good evening.
Hi there.
For those of you who don't know, my name is Ed Levine. I'm an executive member at the VCDL, and I'll let everybody else introduce themselves, and I'll have Philip introduce our special guest. Wait, Philip, are you muted?
Yeah, I'm muted. Yeah. Again. I got a separate mute on my microphone that I forget about because I can't see the red light on it from the angle it's at. So I'm Philip Van Cleve. I'm the president of the group. And by the way, Ed is part of a growing part of the organization, which is the social media part. And that's why he puts this together and runs it, amongst other things. It's an important way we reach out. Pat?
I'm Pat Webb. I'm the secretary and treasurer of VCDL and also the treasurer of the VCDL PAC.
All right, and the lady in the bottom right-hand corner, Ms. Kathy McNichol. She's our brand new chair for the PAC, the VCDL PAC. Not quite this year, but that's going to change dramatically in 2021. That's when state elections are coming up. That, folks, is our chance to change the ship that we're on and turn it around and head it back away from the waterfall we're headed towards. You know, the disaster. So she's going to be playing a critical role in this as we get voters activated to support the right candidates to take power away from the gun controllers in the House. That will be huge, as well as the governor's up, Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General. So, Kathy, introduce yourself and talk a little bit to everybody out there.
Thanks, Philip, and thank you, Pat. I'm really happy to be the chair of the VCDL PAC. It's going to be an exciting work for me. Just a tiny bit about myself. I'm here in beautiful Loudoun County, Virginia. I'm a native Virginian. I've watched what's happened in our state. I grew up in Fairfax County, watched it happen there. You know, the ever creep of the progressives coming west and going south. But I also want to thank all of the previous chairs and everybody that's worked on this committee previously. Fun fact, it was just the PAC's birthday on July 12th. So the PAC is 19 years old now, and a lot of people have come before me in this position. And I also want to thank everybody out there, because without you guys doing the daily work and the daily grind, the volunteer work and showing up and voting and making phone calls and doing what you do, we wouldn't be where we are. The last thing I want to talk about is money. You know, we all know what happened last year. We know what's going to happen next year. We know all the money that comes from out of state. All these progressive PACs come and fund our candidates, and they get their way. They get their payback. I'm not sure how we can compete with millions and millions of dollars, but we're going to have to do everything that we can. And I would be really remiss if I didn't ask for donations. You know, a wise fundraiser told me years ago, you get 0% of the donations that you don't ask for. And VCDL makes it really easy. You know, you go on the website, you click on contribute, and VCDL PAC is right there. So again, I want to thank everybody. I look forward to meeting so many of you, and looking forward to the continued fight for our Second Amendment rights. Thank you.
And we'll probably be hearing a lot from you as once we get into 2021 and you're in the middle of selecting candidates to endorse and so forth. We'll be, you'll be probably a regular coming on during that time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the survey has been an instrumental tool. We want all candidates to fill it out. We have to know where they stand. We have to know how they're going to vote. Those that are in office, we have to look at their records. This is all important information, and it's worked so well in the past, and I want to continue the good work. Thank you.
We've expanded the PAC as well. We have now more members on the PAC than we've ever had on the PAC before. It's almost twice the size, or maybe more than twice the size that it used to be. So we've got a lot of help there. We got a lot of people to help get the job done, and we have Kathy, and we also have Britton Ross is the vice chair for the PAC. So we're really set up, and yep, they're going to need money. As you know, VCDL cannot give any of its money to the PAC. That's a legal thing because we're a nonprofit and they're not. But it's going to take money to win the elections. And I think the PAC's been fairly quiet this year because it hasn't been active in needing money. We appreciate that, people have bills to pay, but now the rubber's going to meet the road in 2021. It really is. And so much is riding on it. It sounds like a cliche when I say it's going to be one of the most important elections you've ever done. This year, it's probably going to be the most important nationally. But next year for Virginians, it's going to be huge. We can't drop the ball. We can't do it. So thank you, Kathy. Look forward to working.
Thank you.
And one thing I want to say for people making contributions to the PAC, we do ask for your occupation and your employer and the employer's city and state where they're based. The reason we ask for that is that this is information that's required by the State Board of Elections. It is not made public unless your contribution for the year totals more than $100. So if it's $100.01, that information has to be made public on our quarterly PAC report. But if it's less than $100.01, if it's $100 or less, that information is not made public. So, but we are required to collect it. So we appreciate you filling that out. Now, if you're a student, just put student. If you're retired, put retired. But if you're a business owner, you need to put not just owner, put what it is that you actually do, like carpenter, contractor, consultant, whatever.
Well, I want to also thank you, Kathy, for joining us as the chair. I've known Kathy for most of my life. Grade school hire, so 28 years. And also I was talking to Kathy a little bit a few days ago, and I think what we'd like to do in a couple of weeks after she gets settled and gets all her ducks in a row is have us join another Facebook Live that is strictly to talk about the PAC. Maybe have some of the other members come on, some of the drive, some of the how they're going to handle certain things and questions and surveys, and just kind of get that so the membership can know to do that. And I guess in closing about the PAC, I'll ask Pat to repeat the address that people can donate one more time, so that we have a couple hundred people watching right now. So if they'd all send in a few bucks, then we'd start off with a bang.
Well, the easiest way to donate is to go to our website, which is vcdl.org/donate. And you'll see the little buttons there to contribute to the PAC or to contribute to VCDL. If you would prefer to mail in your contribution, you can mail it into the post office box for membership. And our membership director will record the contribution properly and send the information to me to report it. So again, thank you all for your generosity. We really appreciate it.
And
Yes.
The first time I ran into Kathy was actually, since you're talking about that, Ed, was back, remember the Million Mom March? You remember that? Rosie O'Donnell and Hillary Clinton, who chickened out and didn't end up going, but her motorcade drove by. Yeah, there was a counter to that. What was that? What was that, Kathy? What was the name of the counter group?
It was called the Second Amendment Sisters, and I think they're still operating in Texas. And the Million Mom March was supposed to have 1 million women. I don't know what they ended up having. And we had 5,000, which I thought was a pretty good showing back then. And we got to march down Constitution Avenue, and it was my first foray and kind of really showing myself and walking in the streets of Washington, D.C. and the threats and the insults they hurled at me just shocked my naivete at the 20 years ago. I'm not shocked anymore. That's just their modus operandi. That's what they do.
And I remember that as we marched, one of the things we did towards the end was a cheer. Thank you, police. Thank you, police.
Oh.
They were there escorting. They were watching us. They were on our side. There was no doubt in my mind. They knew who the patriots were. And they were making sure nothing happened to us. And I think in one place, a lady did reach in and grab a man out of the march, grabbed him and assaulted him.
Probably. I mean, I was marching with two older people who had been through civil rights marches before, and they were like, "Stand with us." So I stood between them, and I felt a little bit safer. But
yeah. It's
it was a real eye opener, and I have to say, it's what put me on this path, and that's why I've always come back to the Second Amendment. It's why I've always geared towards it. It's great to be involved in politics, but it's even better to be an activist, and that's what I enjoy.
Yes, you can do more. You could do more as an activist, and I could do more as an activist than I would if I ran for office, believe it or not. I'm convinced I can do more here than I would if I was elected official. Right. So this is a good place for people like the four of us to be. So, well, thank you. You have a good evening.
Bye, Kathy.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for that. When I was advertising this Facebook Live tonight, I posted, just to get more people to share it, I posted a picture of a VCDL challenge coin. If you don't know what a challenge coin is, you can just Google it. There's a million different definitions and it's old folklore or whatever, but it's another 2-inch novelty piece. And I said, if you share this invite for this page, I'll randomly draw 5 of you and pick you out. So I counted up the 218 shares. I used a random number generator on the internet, and my winners are Jeff Soul, Alan York, Kat HC, Tim Jones, and Elwin Zim. I also messaged each one of you, but since if we're not Facebook friends, you might not see the message. So if you're one of those people, send me a message or send the VCDL Facebook page a message. Get me your address and I'll get you a coin. If you didn't win a coin and you want one, they're available in our store under vcdl.org, and then click on gear. The last thing I want to talk about is some rumors on the Facebook page, and Philip, I'm sure you'll address this, but a couple of people have posted videos that are done by Guns and Gadgets and others that are calling for us to get out and rally in mid-August, and that 961 is back on the table, even though I personally haven't had it set. So maybe if you kick off with that, and then we'll go into the regular meeting.
Sure. Yeah. In fact, I just put an alert out, an update out that it's got like 13 items in it. That just went out right about the time we were starting this online meeting. So yeah, we can talk about that. We are carefully monitoring what's going on in the General Assembly. Right now, we're still not getting a reading that gun control is going to be on the actual agenda. We were afraid it would be. We're not done watching. Believe me, we've not turned our back on this. But so far, there are no bills in. I had somebody that was part of a large conversation, including with all the Democrats that are in power in the General Assembly. And gun control was not anything brought up at all. They're talking about police reform and budget and some other things, but gun control wasn't mentioned. And again, that doesn't mean it can't pop up. So we're watching carefully on that. And but for right now, we're just watching. I'm hoping that the 13,000 emails that got sent out to everybody, which means each person in the General Assembly probably got a few hundred emails saying don't do any gun control. I'm hoping that that's going to keep this off the table. It's just too much of a hot issue right before an election. But we'll see. We're watching. No, we don't have a date set to go down. There's a lot to that. We just don't want to. I don't want to drag everybody down there, especially during the week when people normally have a job for a purpose that's kind of wasted. If they're not doing gun control, yeah, we can always go. We can do that anytime. Go down to Richmond and say no more gun control. I think it's more important if they're looking at it to make sure they're listening to us. And we'll certainly be there in one way or another in January. So when they actually meet, and we'll definitely be looking at gun control. Again, if any of you get any intelligence, if you have something that shows that something's coming up, you're on a mail list, you're watching somewhere, and suddenly you're getting what looks like a legitimate proof that something's coming, let me know. I'm easy to reach. So let's do that. But for now, we're just in watch mode. I don't want to waste your time going somewhere that we don't need to be.
Yeah, we have enough stuff to do with the new resolutions that we're trying to get through the counties and watching for local jurisdictions passing more gun control. There's plenty to do, believe me, but we are not ignoring the General Assembly. We will be keeping a very close eye, and if we need to mobilize people, we will.
Just to kind of get people up to speed on this, for me, from my point of view, this is like December was. My email, I'm at a point again where I can't get to all of it right away. I'm trying to clear my box every day, but it's difficult. There's a lot coming in right now, and all this stuff going on. Like Pat said, we're working all these resolutions, and that in turn brings in a whole bunch of email, which I need to see and understand what's going on around me. So we're busy. We're extremely busy. And that's why I created these. If you have questions, that's why some of you may have missed it. Alert prior to this, I should have repeated it, but I didn't put it in the current alert. Was that if you have questions you want to ask VCDL and you don't need me to answer them, then just send your question to questions with an S on it, questions@vcdl.org. That will go to everybody on the board but me. That leaves my email. Instead of getting thousands, maybe I'll just get 400 a day or something. So appreciate if you could do that. If you need me, if it's something that I have to do, like if you got information on what's going on in a locality about gun control, well, then if that kind of information I need to know, then don't hesitate to contact me. I'm just merely asking if you don't need me, then don't contact me for the time being. If you need me, call me, contact me, whatever. Ed, what were you
Well,
going
I was just going to say I was remiss in my duties as I totally forgot to welcome the 5,000 people on YouTube that we used to have the meeting and then publish to YouTube so people that are not Facebook could listen in. And now I was able to convince our provider to let us be a beta tester. So right now we are broadcasting live on both VCDL's page on Facebook and our channel on YouTube at the same time. And what reminded me of that is I see the comments that people are posting. There's a little F and a little YouTube symbol to let me know what platform they're posting from. So
Oh,
welcome YouTube channel.
yeah, welcome, guys. Yeah, this is great. Hopefully, it'll work out to be a regular thing, because not everybody wants to be on Facebook or doesn't need to be, and YouTube's another way to reach. So it's great. The more the barrier. Hopefully, we'll be getting a lot of comments from people on YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't think I ever really advertised the YouTube part of this. So we need to make sure we do that next time so that people are aware. Because I know a lot of people were disappointed they couldn't watch this because they don't have YouTube. So let's talk about a few things that are going on. In that alert that just went out, Mark Warner, who's up for election on November 3rd. November 3rd, Mark Warner is up for election. He and Tim Kaine, who, thank heavens, we didn't hoist him on the rest of the country as the vice president. Oh, I'm glad we're just keeping him to ourselves and not sharing him. They both introduced a bill that's a poke in the eye to not only Virginia gun owners, but to gun owners nationwide. The bill is called the Virginia Plan to Reduce Gun Violence Act of 2020. And what they've done is they've taken all the 7 bills that the Democrats in Virginia got passed that are all those gun control bills, universal background checks and red flag and one handgun a month and all that. And they created a federal bill to do the same thing at the federal level. So they want the whole United States to look like Virginia right now. And I suggest they wait till after elections next year and see if they really want to do that. Maybe we'll be putting in somebody else to put in a bill to give everybody their rights back. So, but that's bad. I mean, Warner, I had high hopes for him when he was governor. He did a pretty good job as governor when it came to gun rights. He signed some important bills, but as soon as he got into Congress, as soon as he became a senator, it was like that. It was a change. It was like his body had been invaded by some alien being, and he was no longer the same person. And that's only gotten worse. Whatever it is, the infection he's got just seems to keep spreading. And he's wandered further and further and further and further away from Virginia values. And so he's continuing down that path. So this thing has universal background checks, red flag laws, one handgun a month, reporting lost or stolen handguns, restricting firearms access to minors. We don't want children knowing about guns. We don't want them to realize what their heritage is. Of course, they're trying to make it so that, nobody, the new future generations just don't even think about guns. Therefore, they don't miss the fact that they're now disarmed and slaves. It's going to be up to us to make sure that doesn't happen on our watch. And then they want to take away firearms during a protective order. Again, protective orders are handed out like candy. If you're getting a divorce, boom, protective order. Doesn't mean you're a threat to anybody, but the protective order's out, and guess what? You have to give up your guns till the order's dropped. So they're going for our guns any way they can. And like I say, Kaine and Warner are both terrible examples of people in government. And so November 3rd, we can vote and we can do a little bit of correcting. And I suggest if you're not registered to vote, if you have family that's not registered to vote, if you have friends, if you have people you go to church with, people you work with, neighbors, whatever, If they're like-minded, you need to get them to register to vote and go vote. If we don't do that, I don't know what the future is going to hold. We have a chance. There's still time to turn the ship around. The sand is running out of that hourglass. And we've got to do our part. And there's enough of us out there, 2.5 million gun owners in Virginia. We can determine the outcome of elections easily. But we've got to get off our rear ends. And we have to go to the polling place and vote. I know a lot of people hate politics. Tough. You can hate it all you want, but those politics can change your life forever. So let's get active. The PAC's going to be active, but this year, be sure you get out and vote. Make sure everybody you know gets out and vote. If you have to drive to the polls, if you have to call them every 5 minutes on election day until they walk out the door and go to the polls, you need to do that. It's that serious. We want
that, and you can also work the polls and work for campaigns of candidates that are favorable to our positions.
Yes, that's right. Moving on to another issue. Pat, as you know, is an FFL. She's got her own little gun store out in Beaver Dam. And apparently the NICS system has been down. She's seen long delays. And VCDL would like to know if any of you were doing a private sale where it got goofed up because the NICS system has been down for extended periods of time. If you have found yourself in that position, you went to all the trouble to follow the new law, you met the purchaser or you met the seller at a gun store for the purpose of doing the transfer, and they couldn't. There was a long delay in NICS, and they said, well, you'll have to come back tomorrow or hours from now, or we don't know when. Then let us know. Send an email to Pat, secretary at vcdl.org or treasurer at vcdl.org. And we're keeping track of that information right now. I was going to speak at a Family Foundation event. That's been moved off. It was going to be this Saturday. And just an FYI, it's moved out till mid-August. So I'll put an alert out when I know more about that. So there, in the alert, if you look, there's a web page for Falls Church that is actually they did a really good job. They're not a newspaper, but they're a website that follows things in Falls Church, and they actually posted on our side about this whole issue of Falls Church wanting to ban guns. And that apparently the Falls Church City Council really follows this page because, again, it talks about what they're doing and what people are saying about what they're doing. So there's a link there. If you click there, you can see the article that was written, and then below it, comments. So let's put polite but clear comments about this whole issue of what Falls Church is doing, trying to ban guns everywhere they can ban them. Now we had a judge today. The judge that made the ruling on our side that put basically an injunction against the state being able to go after anybody from 18 to 20 buying a gun without going through the universal background check. That injunction was modified a few days ago. One change was made for VCDL at our request, and that change was to clarify that if you were selling a gun to somebody who was 19 years old, you too did not have to be part of the universal background check. The way the ruling originally came out, it almost looked like, well, if you did that, if you did this sale around the universal, but just did a direct sale to an 18-year-old or a 19 or 20-year-old, that they would be fine, but that the government could come after you because you didn't use the system. So that's clarified. That no, anybody that's either anybody from 18 up that's selling a gun to a person from 18, 19, or 20, neither you or the person purchasing need to do the universal background check. You're both exempt for that sale from having any issues. The other thing was that the way the judge issued the injunction initially, an 18, 19, or 20-year-old didn't even have to go through a universal background check for a long gun, which is something they can buy directly from a dealer, where they can't buy a handgun from a dealer only in a private sale. So they corrected that. The state wanted that. So the correction is now that the injunction only applies to 18-year-old, 19 or 20 wanting to buy a handgun from a person in a private sale that they don't go through a universal background check. Pat, did you have any comments on that?
No, I think you explained it pretty clearly.
Okay. There was an article in this as well. 5,000 guns were stolen in June. 5,000 in the first week of June. That doesn't cover the rest of June and July. It just, to me, what jumped out at me when I saw that was, it reminded me again, background checks are a waste of time. Those guns are all going to be sent off to criminals. That's at least 5,000 in 1 week alone that are going out to criminals across the country. They're not going to go through a universal background check to pick those guns up. It's just a joke that I think we're all tired of. I want to also talk about something that happened in Richmond. This happened, I guess, this week. And I don't know if this is a case of it or not, but I know there were some people going down to the Lee Monument on Monument Avenue here in Richmond with the idea of helping to keep the peace, because the police aren't always around and they've been kind of hamstrung in their ability to protect monuments and even protect people from some violence. So some people were going down with long guns or open carry with the whole idea of just being there, hoping that to be a deterrent, that hopefully things would stay peaceful down there. And apparently one person had a long gun, and they got beaten and robbed. And I don't know if their gun was stolen or not, but and that prompted me to write some information in the alert. I kind of cover the key points here, but there's a few things to this story. Number one, you're absolutely certainly free to go down, and if you want to do something like that, as long as it's legal, do what you want. VCDL takes no position on that, but do understand that you have to be prepared for a few things. Number one, if you're armed, you still have to have full situational awareness. You still need to know what's going on around you. Just because you've got a gun on doesn't mean that you've got this magic bubble around you that nobody could attack you. There are crazy people out there, truly nuts, that even though you're armed, they're just so nuts that they would go to attack you, try to take your gun. Fortunately, that's rare, but it could happen. And if you're going to do something like that, you need to be prepared. You need to think ahead of time, what you're going to do if a few conditions come up. What if you're vastly outnumbered? You've got 15 people. That's something to think about. And when would you go to deadly force? Remember, you can't go to deadly force unless your life's in imminent danger. You're innocent. If you're sitting there having a shouting match with people, that's a problem. You're going to have to retreat if somebody then suddenly tries to go lethal on you. It's a very, very tricky situation. But I also point out in there that if you've got a rifle slung on your back, if somebody attacks you at a close range and quickly, that rifle, that's nothing. You may as well just have a baseball bat back there. That might even be more useful. That rifle's going to be useless in that configuration. And in this case, apparently, there was some kind of verbal altercation and a chase with the bad guy chasing the good guy. Probably couldn't get his rifle off his back. And the bad guy had a handgun. So he pulled that out and he basically got the upper hand on the situation and robbed the guy and beat him up or whatever, and another person that was with him. And I point out that handguns have a place, guys. I don't care if you got a rifle. Handguns have a place. And in close combat like that, handguns are a handy tool to have. I'd much rather have a handgun on my hip than a rifle on my back, honestly, and for something quick and fast like that. So there was just lessons to be learned there. And I think some people need to really pay attention to that. On the whole issue of carrying things. So I just put my thoughts on it. They're just my thoughts. I don't claim to be the world's expert on everything by any means, But I have had fairly extensive training in a lot of things. I've done, quite a bit of many hours of very intense SWAT level training. Anyhow, just for whatever it's worth, it's on there if you want to read about that, my thoughts, and I'm sure I'll be hearing from you on your considerations on it. They had police were praising an armed citizen that shot somebody that was trying to kill other people and took him out quickly. And one person was already been murdered, but the gun owner saved. The police were saying countless lives. So again, gun saves lives. Because permit holders and just people open carrying that are lawfully doing so are good. Also, you'll want to watch a video on this. Now, I'll warn you, the video is intense. But I really think, as somebody, as you all of you are, that carry guns for self-defense to protect yourself, your family, and everybody else, especially those of you that haven't been either in the military, assuming you were actually in a combat zone, actively doing something, or haven't been in a police department or a sheriff's department or something, and experienced a few things. It's something to watch. This video is of a female police officer who pulls over a car, and a guy gets out of the car, and she's giving a command, and he's echoing it back. Clearly, there's something wrong in between his ears. And next thing you know, he pulls out a knife, and she's telling him to stop, stop, stop. And he's walking at her. Next thing you know, he's just almost right on top of her. She opens fire. She shoots 14 shots, and finally he goes down. Now, my first thought was, I'll bet she's missing, but no. And I think a lot was pointed out in there. This guy, the way he was holding his arms and stuff, and the way he was twisted, his arms was protecting his body from those rounds going into his chest and stuff. So he was absorbing a lot of rounds and still in the fight. And he kept going right till the end when the knife fell out of his hand, and he's reaching down to get it. She's still shooting him. Finally, she scores one that drops him down like a bag of potatoes. But so when they say who needs more than 10 shots, there's an example right there. 14 shots on one person. It depends. If they're high on drugs, their nervous system is not behaving normally. They could receive multiple fatal shots, but the brain isn't registering. So it's just this little machine, and you just keep right on going until finally the blood level drops enough to where you collapse. So it shows how dangerous. And by the way, it also shows that this officer was very good. If you look carefully in the film, her gun jams at one point. And when I watched it, I realized why her gun jammed in the middle of this shooting. And that's because the bad guy got really close to her with his knife as she's firing on him, and he grabbed for her gun. Now, he didn't get her gun, but I do believe the mere act, the way he grabbed it, I don't know if he knocked it out of battery, whatever he did, her gun jammed. And she just did a tap, rack, bang, and she was right back in the fight. That's how it's done, folks, like that. She didn't hesitate. She got right back in the fight. But that's how easy it could happen. He actually was close enough to touch her gun, and he had a knife. So it's well worth watching. There's so many videos that I'll be sharing over time, and I have in the past, because there's much to be learned about a real life and death scenario like that. What would you do? How do these things look? How quickly do they happen? You start to appreciate the Tueler drill, where if somebody's within 21 feet of you and they're armed with a knife or a baseball bat or something of that nature, they are a lethal threat to you, even though it's not a handgun, because you can see how quickly this guy closed in on that officer and how she was backing up. By the way, as you're backing up, you can easily trip and end up on your back. So it's a good video to watch. It's intense. It's not gory. So the part that might have been gory is shown a second shot, not her body cam, but from like a doorbell camera. It's got a pretty clear view of the whole thing, but nothing close up. But you can see how long it took before he finally collapsed on the ground. So, Pat, I don't know if you saw that. Did you have a chance to look at that one?
I did not have a chance to look at that, but I will.
Yeah, and
I put the link. I put the link in the comments. So if anybody wants to grab that, the link is in the comments. Okay.
So we have also some movement. I'm sorry for all the alerts. This is. I just don't see an end to the fact. Hopefully everybody will be patient. But we've got we're in the middle of a war. So I've got to get stuff out to you as I get it. I'm trying to package things in one of two ways or three ways. One way is urgent, absolute, need you to do something right now. Those go out by themselves. They usually have one item in it, and it's we've got to do this, or you need to know about this, or whatever. Those are urgent action items. Those, hopefully you'll drop what you're doing and read them. The second type are what I'll call an update. An update is sort of to catch you up on the flood of information I've got coming in on anything that I deem important enough that you should know about. There's so much I see that I think, this they don't need to know this. I don't want to waste everybody's time. But those things I look at and go, yeah, this would be good for our members to know, even if it's not a Virginia item. If it's something I feel that would help either understanding a law or thinking through a situation or just knowing key things that are going on elsewhere that could end up here, I put them in that update. And that's what you will have tonight when you check your inbox. There's like 13 items in that update. Covers a lot of the stuff I've talked about and more. So the third thing I'm doing now is I'm trying to put alerts together that deal with the resolution situation. I don't really want to mix all the resolution information into this other update. I'm trying to keep them separate so that when you get a resolution thing, we can focus just on that major project that's going on across the state right now. And I've got I could probably put another alert out tomorrow that's got 6 or 7 items in it at least on more localities that are stepping up to the plate, or that you need to do something like contact them and get it going. We're slowly filling in the matrix of locality versus have they done the sanctuary thing? But I'm thinking it's really going to start picking up speed here pretty soon. This is how the Second Amendment sanctuary started. It started with one locality, Carroll County, all by itself. And then there was a period of time, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 days, 5 days, and then along came Campbell County. And then the snowball started to roll. And by December, Katie bar the door, we were seeing sometimes, 8, 9 localities a day becoming sanctuaries or constitutional sanctuaries. So, but we still think this is a very important project. I would like to see more people participating in it, though. We're not doing it at a level that I would like to see. It's okay, and I think some organizations would be ecstatic with what we're getting done, but we can do better because of who we are and what we do. So I just want to throw that out. Pat, did you have some things?
I do. About the alerts that you send out, there is a archive page on our website where you can see the last dozen or so alerts. But right now, the information is coming out so fast. If there is an alert that you want to save so that you can share, just open it in your web browser and then copy that link to your desktop or something like that. Save it, because those alerts are still there on that link, but they're not going to show up on the archive page for very long because so many things are coming out so quickly.
And believe me, I try not to bury you guys in emails. I truly do. Sometimes I spend quite a bit of time agonizing what to do because I know some people are just sensitive to it. I have to be careful because I'm so far beyond sensitive to emails coming in. If I was sensitive, I couldn't do this job for 10 seconds. While I'm sitting here doing this in this 1 hour, I guarantee I've got 50 more emails coming in. So, but it's, we're in a war and we either fight it or we don't. And I know I'm fighting, and I'm pretty sure all you guys are. Did you have anything? I was going to let you take the thing for a minute. I'm going to get a list of some of these localities and kind of update people on some of the stuff that's coming down the road. So
sure.
I'm going to roll away here for a sec. You go ahead and take the.
Let me talk about a couple of the member perks that we've instituted, and Ed might want to jump on here for this because you are now able to take your email address of record with VCDL and log on to the VCDL website to a members only section. So if you are a paid member with VCDL, you can take that email address that is associated with VCDL and go to the VCDL.org website and log in. Once you log in, you can update your address your email address, your phone number, and you can set your privacy settings. And you can also participate in a members only forum that Ed has set up on the page. Now, a couple of caveats. When you first go to log in, if you've never logged in before, you'll have to use that password reset link in order to set a password. And then once you do log in, if you want to participate in the forum, you need to make sure that your privacy settings allow your first and last name to be visible to other members. And that's so that we can tell who we're talking to on the forum, because if you don't have that set, if you have it set so that nobody can see it, then you'll just show up as anonymous, and you'll have a bunch of anonymouses talking to each other, and nobody will know who's saying what. And so we've decided that if you want to participate in the forum, you must set your privacy settings to allow other members to see your first and last name. Ed, do you want to say anything else about the forum or any of the new features?
Sure. So years ago, we had also a members discount list where, a restaurant or a auto repair shop would say, hey, if people come in and say they're a VCDL member, we'll give them 10% off our services. That kind of fell by the wayside, and we're going to fire that up again. We're not sure if the spreadsheet is the way to go, or there's some new applications that we've been looking at and testing. Some of them don't let a bunch of people collaborate on them, so that's another and they cost money. And using a spreadsheet that links to our webpage, those are free and they're easy to be updated by multiple people. So I do have a meeting this weekend, and I plan on talking to some of our web people and discussing some options and finding that out. But that's all behind the scenes. What it really comes down to is hopefully within the next few weeks, there'll be a link at the top that says member discounts. And for a vendor that, sells gun parts or whatever, they'll basically pay a $50 a year vendor charge to be listed on our Facebook page or on our web page as a vendor of choice from VCDL, which basically means that you give members a discount, and hopefully by paying the $50 to get on the spreadsheet and by giving the members a discount, the members in turn will support you enough to buy your products and services that will override the discount that you've lost and also the member fee that you've tried. And then if a year goes by and it works out, you do it again. And if it doesn't work out, you drop off and you try something else. How's that sound?
Well, that sounds good. I know we had quite a few people that had originally offered discounts, and some of them actually dropped off the list because they said that they weren't getting responses. So when you're a member, please check out that list, especially once we get it renewed and refreshed here, and patronize some of those businesses that have taken the time to support VCDL and gun owners and stand up for your gun rights. So give them a shout, let them know that you heard about them from the VCDL page. Whether you actually buy something from them or not, at least let them know that you saw them on the page and that you took the time to contact them because of the fact that they did that.
I see Jim Hill asked, can you post a link to join the group? I'm not sure which group. If you're talking about the discounts or the forum, that's all on the vcdl.org webpage. If you're talking about the VCDL group, you just go on Facebook. In Facebook, there's two different things. There's the VCDL group, which is where a bunch of people chatter back and forth about gun rights related things in Virginia. And there's the page, the VCDL page, which is what we're on now, broadcasting from. And that's also more like the alert. It's more things that we post to the page, and then people can reply. And because it's us posting and not 20,000 members posting back and forth, we sometimes post things that we might find interesting that's not specifically gun rights related, like one of the main rules of the group. So John, as you chat, let us know what group you're talking about, and we'll try and answer that. And I see Philip is back as well.
Yeah.
Let me just, Philip, before you get started, let me address a question that John Quinn was asked. He said, will our email be released to a third party? Our Junior Quinn asked that. Junior, no, we don't give your emails. We don't sell your emails or anything like that. And you can set your email to private while your name is not public, but shared with members in your privacy settings. Once you join VCDL and you have access to the website, you can go in and see all of the different ways you can personalize your settings. But we do not share our member information with anybody, with the exception of, for instance, we hired a group that does the text message for us. They get your phone number, your first name, and your member number and your zip code. They don't get any real identifying information about you at all. And anybody that does have access to any information about our membership has to sign a non-disclosure statement. So, no, we take your privacy very seriously.
I see Elwin Zim is thanking us because he was one of the challenge coin winners.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
All right. Well, I was looking at some of the things that are going to be coming down the road. One of the things is I'm in the beginning stages right now of compiling the voting record of all the delegates and senators from the General Assembly session in January and February. And in there are some people that should not have voted wrong on gun stuff. I mean, they're pretty much the entire Democrat Party is you know, I don't know if they've got anybody that voted right all the time. I mean, most of them voted bad for at least 7 bills. But we also have Republicans. And we're going to be having everybody contact those that can't seem to vote right on this stuff and make sure that they understand from all of us that that's unacceptable. We don't want any more gun control. The last thing we want, for example, would be a Republican to try to make some of the gun control that didn't make it more palatable. Oh, well, let's make this little change and see now if we can shove it through because it's a little bit better. It's like saying, well, instead of putting 10 drops of urine in the punch bowl, let's only put 3 drops in the punch bowl and let everybody want to see if they want to drink from it. No, you know, 1 drop would be too much. And so we don't need, especially don't need Republicans out there trying to help with gun control. And we got at least 1 or 2 that are thinking about it. So we're going to be doing some serious contacting. I mean, all of you will be contacting these few, whether you live in their district or not. It's not going to matter. Because they need to hear from all of us, because what they're talking, you know, if they get involved in this, their actions will affect every one of us. So, well, that's coming up. I'm still compiling all the information. That's a lengthy process, unfortunately, because there were so many bills, so many votes, because I have to keep track of every vote they do. 1 bill could be voted on 4, 5, 6 times, and so we need I need to compile all that. Fortunately, once I get it together, I'd written a computer program to then build, put everything together and do all the statistics and do everything automatically. It's just literally copying and pasting voting records in. It's a mechanical part that I have to do by hand. At least it's copy and paste. I don't have to retype anything. Number 2, we're looking at finding out who funds these mayors of these localities that are taking away our gun rights, like Alexandria and Richmond, and which companies and organizations are providing them money to get elected. And we're going to be having all of you guys contacting those companies and organizations about their support for people that are taking away our rights, that are standing against the lawful rights of citizens. And this is something that some other organizations have done in the past, and maybe we need to do it as well. If they're going to be supporting these people, there should be a payment on that. Like, we won't do business with your company anymore as long as you're giving money to Mayor Stoney. And we can do this for the mayors that are leading the charge on this stuff. And we can add in mayors from Falls Church or anywhere else if they continue down this path. I think we need to bring some political pain to some of these guys. All right, looking at what's going on, Rocky Mount on August 10th may be considering or voting on the resolution. Amelia County is uh, uh, looking at the resolution. Powhatan is going to actually vote on it on the 27th. So in 4 days, Powhatan will be voting. So we're going to need it. I'd like to have a big turnout for these things. We really want to show strong support, not only to convince the Board of Supervisors or City Council or whatever to adopt the resolution on no more gun control, but those big turnouts send a message back to Richmond. So while it's tempting to think, well, that's not as important as the Second Amendment sanctuary was, I think that would be a mistake. We really need to continue to show that gun owners are not in the mood for any of this stuff, and that we're willing to go out and stand up and be counted on these issues. It takes away from our time, from our families, but it's what we really should be doing if we're going to do this right.
It's also part of protecting our families. Sorry to break in, but we just received a message that Falls Church City has posted its agenda for July 27th at the city council meeting, and they're calling for a first reading of the gun ordinance. So it's being fast tracked.
Okay. Yeah, not too surprised. So that means sometime in August, they'll be voting on, they'll get input from the public, and then they'll vote probably the same day. So
and you don't have to live there, because I've shopped and I do business of things in Falls Church, and I wrote them per the alert and said, if they change that, I'm not going to Falls Church anymore.
Yeah, why should you?
And I'm not only did I tell them, but I told the businesses that I participate in.
Yeah, and this is important, Ed, because I had somebody go to me, and it made sense what they were saying. So, well, why are we punishing businesses? It's not their fault that they have a business in Alexandria. Well, no, our intent is not to punish the business. Our intent is to not go into that city. And all we're doing is we're letting the businesses know, as long as the city has this policy, you, the business owner, you've done nothing wrong, but I'm not coming into the city. So that means I can't go to your business because of what they've done. So, business, reach out to city council and tell them that this is affecting your bottom line, this foolishness that they're doing. And it's the same thing in Falls Church. If they do this, we'll just be letting the businesses know that we're boycotting the city. We're not boycotting them, but sadly, they become collateral damage, as I see it. I think it's probably the way to look at it. And I hate that, but the city isn't listening. They're tone deaf. So I guess they don't care what happens to their businesses. So other localities that we think are going to be looking at doing this resolution are going to be Wythe County, Craig County, Matthews. Now Bedford looks like we may have to do some pushing on Bedford to get them to do a resolution. So if you live in Bedford County, you may definitely want to double down, get your friends, get other people to contact them to pass this resolution. Tell them you want, look, the way I'm explaining it to local government is, look, citizens are looking around them and seeing, cities on fire, and they're seeing people being beat up and murdered, all this mayhem going on. We want to go to our local government and have them stand up with us and say, no, we've got some sanity here. We're going to protect your rights, especially your right to protect your life. We want to hear our local governments put that resolution through, so they're telling us that they're on our side of the fence. And we don't have to worry about them being the same lunatics that we've got running the city of Richmond or the city of Alexandria. Pulaski County. Pulaski County is going to be another one that I'm going to put on the list that says they don't need the resolution. A few of these counties and other localities, passed the Second Amendment sanctuary resolution earlier in the year that was so good that it covered in advance saying that they would not do any local gun control. So for them, I'm saying, okay, all right, we'll go ahead. When I actually look at their resolution, I'll analyze it and decide if it's good enough. And if it is, and Pulaski County was, then we can thank them, but we don't need them to do the resolution. They've covered that base. but not everybody by any means covered that base. So that's those are some of the localities, and who knows what else is in the I don't know, 400 emails I can't look at right now. But again, let's stay engaged on this. Let's be active in this. Let's push for this stuff to go through. This is not the time to kind of going back to sleep. Just, we can't do it.
Speaking of sleeping, a lot of times in the forums and on the page, and people are talking about, are we going to go down to Richmond again in August? And you kind of address that in the beginning of the chat here, and people can go back and listen to that later. But some of the feedback is like, yeah, go walk around there and do nothing like you did last time. And they just don't get it. And I've said, you've said on multiple times, and I think it bears repeating, that if we didn't go there, by going there, we killed maybe 60 really bad gun laws. And then we watered down the ones that got through. In fact, 961, even in a watered down version, didn't even make it. So if there's anybody out there that thinks that our going down there on lobby day didn't have a positive effect for gun owners, then you just simply aren't paying attention.
Yeah, and you'd have to really not be paying attention to realize that an election was lost, that people didn't get off their rear ends and vote. Therefore, by sitting on their tails, and some of them aren't even registered to vote, by sitting there, suddenly they've turned power over to some people that want to take a tyrannical position. How much can we do? Did somebody really have the fantasy that we could stop all of it? Every bit of it? What kind of fantasy is that? If you want to stop every bit of it, then you've got to vote. You've got to make sure the right people are in office. You put the wrong people in, and you only have so much control. Now, we do have an election coming up. We can make up for some lost ground.
And you can't let seats for people that are anti-gun run unopposed.
Yes, and I think the Republicans are I think they're getting the message. I've talked to some that I've gotten. We'll see. But yeah, there were some big failures there, not just voters, but this is. But I think people are waking up. But let's be realistic about this. We had no control. We were basically in a car going down a mountain road with no brakes.
And while I love gun owners and I love what they're all about, but I have someone come back to me like, so you want to blame gun owners for this? And I'm like, well, yeah, there's 4 million gun owners supposedly in Virginia, and there's a million of them or 900 something thousand concealed handgun permit holders. And if they all voted, we wouldn't be in this situation. So
2.5 million and 650, but still, those are big numbers. We only got 8 million in the state, including children. So, yes, gun owners are to blame for some of this. We know for a fact that many of them are not registered or don't bother to vote. That's got to stop, folks. This is serious stuff. And the other side is not going to slow down. And you can fantasize that, oh, my vote won't matter. Well, go ahead. That's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to say, oh, what was the point? Oh, woe is us. We went down and we didn't get everything we wanted. They still did this. They still did that. Well, I'll tell you what, if we didn't show up, we would have an assault weapon ban right now. You would be turning in your guns unless you wish to spend so many years in jail or get in a shootout over keeping them. You would not have any suppressors. Those would be gone. You would not have any magazines in your possession that had more than 10 rounds in it. You would have lost reciprocity with 25 states at least, if not more. Forget traveling out of Virginia and using your Virginia permit. Oh, no, we would have lost that too. I think people are forgetting what we were looking at in full measure. It was Katie Bar, the door guys. They were going for everything. Yes, am I happy with what we got? No, I'm not happy with what we got. We shouldn't have gotten any of this. None of it. And we're going to be working to repeal all of this stuff. Starting right off the bat with this stuff that allows localities to pass gun control. I want to march right back into Alexandria and tell them, hey, guess what, guys? All those bans you've got in your parks, they're gone. Poof, it's gone. I want to do that in 2022 in July. So, this is a war. And with a war, you don't win every battle necessarily. You don't come out unscathed. That's just not the way it works. I wish it was. I wish we could do something where we're unscathed. It's not going to work that way. We're going to get a black eye every now and then. We're going to get our rights taken away from this. But you know what? I think that's what it's going to take and what it took to get some people active. Look at Lobby Day. We went from 800 people to 50,000. That's because people finally woke up. But I'm not, it falls on deaf ears with me when people say, oh, woe is me. There was no point. We went down there, we marched around, nothing happened. That's BS. And I, for one, am not playing along with that. You can believe it. You can go suck your thumb in the corner, do what you need to do. But the rest of us will stand up and fight for our rights. We're not going to do that. We're going to be there fighting however we can. Right now, the way to do it is through the Constitution, through the laws, and everything else. The Second Amendment's there for a reason. I pray to God we never have to use it for that reason. And right
there's
now,
a lot of people that think that starting a war at the mansion is the way to go, or tar and feathering and stuff. And I'm like, that might be the way to go one day, but that day's not yet.
We're not there. We're not there. This country is in a lot of trouble. But if we all get active, we can start to turn this ship around. But it's going to take gun owners from across the country as well. But we've got to do our part in Virginia. Our focus is right here. We got presidential elections coming up. We already know what at least one of the candidates, how he looks at guns. And again, then we get into this issue. Trump, for example, if you think about him, I get those that say he's not perfect. Fine. That leaves Biden. Do you have any idea what Biden wants to do with guns? And could you imagine Biden with a Senate and a House that were both controlled majority-wise by his party? Can you imagine where we would be? So if you're going for perfection, good luck. None of you are perfect.
But Trump banned bump stocks, Philip. We can't vote for Trump. Trump banned bump stocks.
Oh, yeah. Again, he's also got some, I probably could use better advisors on this stuff. I'm sure he never used a bump stock. He didn't know what it was. And he had the NRA saying, it's okay, we don't need bump stocks. Well, if the NRA is telling him that, I could, he doesn't really know much about it. I mean, I could see where he might go with that. But it doesn't matter. We're all imperfect. I've done things that weren't perfect by a long shot. My wife will remind you that I do it daily. But we have to deal with the imperfections around us. But we better choose the best path. The best path is not through the middle of a raging river. You may not find that perfect bridge to get to the other side. You may have to hang on a rope and swing across. But if you try to swim across, you're going to drown. So you go with what you got. You pick the best candidate, you get behind him, and you hope for the best. If you're looking for perfection, you'll find that when you die, but you're not going to find it on this planet. I'm sorry, this just really strikes a chord in me. We got a battle we've got to win, and we cannot be sidetracked, nitpicking on little issues here and there and going, well, this isn't perfect, so I'm going to take my toys and go home. If we do that, we lose. We got to be a team. We accept the fact life's imperfect. We get together as an army, and we get the job done. No crying in the corner. They put an obstacle, we go over the obstacle. That's how you win.
Good, thank you.
We've got people that can do it. We've got wonderful people that can do it. These people have served in the military and the police. They're the key part of this country. The people we've got as membership are the kind of people that built this country. No doubt in my mind. We can do it. We just got to make sure that we don't fall into the trap of looking for perfection.
So Kathy Coffer has asked, what about red flag laws? Kathy, we are working on challenging those, but we're working on challenging several different things. And we have some suits filed, not red flag laws. We have suits filed against the universal background check and the one handgun a month. And those were quicker to get prepared for, and that's why they're filed now. We want to make sure when we do file against red flag laws that we do it right. So it's going to take longer to get ready to do that, but we are not turning our back and accepting that. There will be a challenge in the future.
Phil's muted.
Keep in mind that, I could hear myself fine. You couldn't hear me? I
was reading your lips.
I was perfectly loud and very clear. The the thing is with lawsuit challenges is you have to have something called standing. Not just anybody can march into a courtroom and sue over something. You have to have been in a position to not to lose something. In other words, you have to have been you have to be harmed in some way. Now, some things VCDL can step in ahead of time and say, this will harm us. It will irreparably damage our civil rights. That's one thing. With red flag, to get standing, we're going to need to wait until we have somebody that's been harmed by a red flag law. And I'm sure it's coming. We've had reports of one person already that was falsely flagged, but the court system seemed to have caught it and nothing happened. But somebody tried to falsely flag somebody else. And right now, that's as much as I can say about it. But we are watching and waiting for that inevitable case where somebody gets unlawfully red flagged. So, by the way, I'm glad Pat brought that up and so forth. If you know of anybody, or if you end up with one of these red flag laws, we want to know about it. Be sure if you know anybody, hear of anybody, that they get in touch with us. We want to know. We want to be following what happens with these red flags. So if it happens to you, get in touch with us right away.
Right. And it's worth saying again, too, the delays with the state police have been interminably long. Usually, from what I'm seeing in my gun store, if you're delayed, you can pretty much count on coming back the next day, unless it's early in the morning when you buy your gun. Yesterday or the day before, I think it was the day before yesterday, the federal government, the FBI, did an update to the NICS system, which fixed the system into oblivion for most of the day. So since our VCheck system has to run through NICS, we couldn't sell any guns for most of the day. And if anybody had a private sale transfer that was ruined or delayed because of that, please let us know, because when we go back to court on this and go before the judge, we need actual cases where we can say, okay, this sale was going to take place, but it didn't because the people didn't want to have to come back the next day, or this sale was put off for an extended period of time and both parties couldn't make it back. But it does have real consequences in the real world. So if you have been delayed and had a private sale that was ruined because of a delay, then let us know, please.
Yeah, and some people, I've looked at the map of where the dealers are that are willing to do these background checks. Some people will have to drive hours to get to the nearest dealer that can do one of these. Can you imagine driving 2 hours and going to the dealer to find out that you can't do it that day because of this issue with NICS? And so in essence, too, the NICS could shut down all gun sales in Virginia now because you couldn't, in desperation, you couldn't even go to a private sale to get a gun if NICS was down. Prior to July 1, you could. You may not want a secondhand gun that somebody's selling. It may not be the gun you want anyhow, but at least you could get one. And this is the argument against another argument against universal background checks. It's got a chokehold on a very, very important right, and it could be at a time when you need it more than you've ever needed that firearm. We've got about Pat, isn't about 25% of the sales? We set a record for gun sales. I think, what is it, like the last 3 months, each month was like a record, and something like 25% are brand new gun owners, many of whom were saying, oh, who needs a gun just a month ago? And now suddenly the light went on in their head and they realized, well, geez, I need a gun.
So if you've helped one of these people, they call you up and they go, what kind of gun should I get? And let's go shooting. Make sure you tell them about VCDL.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know about other gun dealers, but I know at my shop, one of the questions that I ask gun buyers is, are you a member of VCDL? And if they're not, I hand them a membership brochure and say, if you own a gun, you live in Virginia, you should be a member. I can say that probably half of my customers lately have been brand new gun owners. And it's frustrating because with the COVID-19 restrictions, it's been very difficult to get them the training that they're trying to get, just because of the restrictions on where we can have the classes. And the people that I teach with are, they work for a fire department as their paying job. And so their schedule has been pretty hectic. My schedule has been hectic, and the flood of new gun owners is just tremendous. But I think there has been a record every month so far this year has smashed a record on number of gun sales. And I don't see it stopping unless we run out of guns, which we just might do.
You know, and the press amazes me because they've contacted me. I've done a lot of stories on this. It's like, well, why do you think people are buying guns now? I'm going, how could you? Oh, maybe because cities are burning, and maybe because people are being beat up and shot and so forth by crowds, and nobody's coming to their aid. Maybe because of that.
Yeah, I mean, people call my store and they say, "Have you got any 9mm ammo?" And I'm like, "No." Well, why is everybody out? Every store I call is out of 9mm ammo. I'd say, well, pick one. COVID, riots. I mean, you name it. There's crisis after crisis has happened this year, and defund the police. So people are realizing that they are their own first line of defense.
We've been screaming that for years, Pat, right?
Absolutely.
Finally getting through to some.
Yeah.
The people listening to this, most of them already knew that. That's why they're doing what they're doing. But a lot of people, I don't understand how you could not get that. How you could truly, I think it's wishful thinking. It's like, oh, I really don't like guns. They're icky, and I think the police can handle it. And then so they stick their head in the sand. Mm-hmm. And then the riots start, and somebody grabs their head and yanks it out of the sand and forces them to look at all the violence going on around them. And suddenly they go, well, they're not so icky. Maybe I'm going to go buy one of those things, but I won't touch it too much.
You can always buy a pretty one.
Yeah. I won't really shoot it. I'll just have it just in case.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're not doing that. Although I'll tell you what, I do feel sorry for the new gun owners because truly what you just said, Pat, ammunition. Mm-hmm. I found some 223. No, it was 556 the other day. 49 cents a round. But at least the company had them in stock. And so I said, well, I'm going to get one box, just 475 rounds, just to have a little bit more. Just because everywhere I looked, I couldn't find the stuff. If it was everywhere, I wouldn't have bothered.
Well, that goes back to that price gouging thing that you're talking about. Is some of these places, while they're selling out and they've supply and demand, they've raised their prices. And some people are like, I'm not going to pay $1 around for 5.56, and I probably won't. But if you just bought a rifle and it shoots 5.56 and you have absolutely no ammo and you think I got 2 20-round mags, I need 50 rounds. Even though it's $1 a round, I need it because it's better than 0 rounds.
Exactly.
Right.
And people get upset about price gouging and stuff. I don't. It's an example that somebody gave me once. They were totally out of water down after Katrina down in Louisiana. In some places, it's had no water, no fresh water to drink. And so people rented trucks and loaded them up with water and spent their time and gasoline and everything else driving down to Louisiana. And yeah, they were asking maybe $2-3 for a little bottle of water, and people were all upset. Well, I see it as somebody at least had water for them. If you needed to survive, you had the water. If they didn't charge that, they couldn't cover their costs, and there would be no water. So no matter how desperately you wanted it, you could not have it. So that's just the free economy doing what the free economy does. And if they go down there with that and nobody wants to pay $3 for a bottle of water or $5 or whatever they were asking, then they won't be able to sell any of it, and they're going to come down in the price. And you're going to meet somewhere where they're making a profit or at least breaking even, and you're getting something at a lower price. But if you say that there can be no price gouging, again, you're artificially going in there and trying to fool with a market that will adjust itself. those prices will moderate. And once this is over, the prices will start to come down. I remember the last time we had a big run like this. Dennis O'Connor and I were talking, and we said, oh, we'll probably never see 22 ammo at 4 cents a round again like we used to, because at the time it was like 15 cents a round, 10, 15, 20 cents. And a year or two later, I told Dennis, hey, it's back at 4 cents a round. Now, I don't know if we'll get back there again, but we need to be patient. The prices are going to go up. That's just a natural response to supply and demand. And right now, supply is being vastly outstripped by demand.
Right.
So, Pat, one of the gentlemen that won the challenge coin also said he got his membership card today. And that made me think we should probably talk about membership and the backlog and what we're doing a little bit.
Okay, so we've gotten the PayPal transactions uploaded, and we've gotten the hard copies from all of the gun shows, and mail-in applications have been entered into the computer. Now, if you log in and you have renewed via PayPal, and it's not showing up on the website, don't panic, because our new website doesn't let us upload the financial transactions. So that's our next step, is we're going through by hand and going through all of the renewals and entering them into the system. So we're looking at the ones that are renewing in the September, the end of September 1st, and trying to get everything caught up before the notices go out to renew. But we do have teams working on this, and we are getting caught up, and we are implementing all of the new membership benefits that we talked about before with the forum, and you being able to log into the website and so forth.
Okay. So I guess there was some John Linton was talking about, there's some legislation or talk about lawmakers being able to cancel lobby day, because people were saying that we wouldn't be able to gather or.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that I think they're looking at the Richmond law about being armed in public places, but that does not affect the state property, and the Capitol grounds is state property. So the Richmond law would not affect that.
Well, actually, the Richmond law only affects their parks and buildings, and
it affects city parks and buildings, not
parks and
state.
buildings.
Right.
State, yeah. So
it would affect parking garages. Yes.
If it's a city
garages.
I don't know how many they have. They're city owned. Most of them are privately owned in Richmond. I just saw one comment. I was kind of coming in the middle. Maybe I missed something, but one person was saying to another, well, to be fair, the buyer could tell the seller that the NICS system is down, and they could arrange to meet later. I missed part of that. If I'm understanding that correct, I would say that you may not know that the system's down until both of you have driven 2 hours to get to a dealer. Then you find out it's down. You're not necessarily going to know ahead of time unless you happen to call the dealer and say, before I go out there. And that could change while you're en route. So,
and then if you don't have your handgun permit, you're limited to one gun.
That's right.
Right. And unfortunately, the state police don't tell the dealer. The only way you know is if you run a background check and it doesn't go through. It just hangs in the submitted status.
So somebody calling you, Pat, if they asked you if the system was down, you wouldn't know for sure unless you had just run a background check on somebody else and it was delayed. And you don't know if that delay is because they're down or because that guy had something that they had to check.
Correct. The ones the other day, what happened was when I put them in, when you first put it into the computer, it says submitted, and it should only stay in that submitted status for 1 or 2 seconds, maybe 10 seconds at the most. And then it will either go to approved, or it will say additional information required, or it will say delayed. and or it may say in review, I think is the term that they use for it. So the other day when the NIC system was down, it stayed in submitted for hours and hours and hours. Sometimes when the VCheck system is down, it will just stay on delayed for hours and hours. But to try to since the state police doesn't put it on their website homepage, the only way you really know that there's a problem in the system is if you call the state police. And normally when you try to call the state police and there's something wrong, you get an interminable busy signal and it takes hours to get through on the phone. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation. The way I found out the other day was I went on the internet, and there's a group that I belong to that's nothing but gun dealers. And I said, is anybody else having problems with background checks? And somebody else told me that the FBI had on their website that the system was down. And so that's when I knew that there was a problem with NICS and not with the VCheck system.
Yeah, these background checks, they're dangerous, really. It's, we're very vulnerable now that we're in a system that's got all the, got the government in control of background checks for a basic civil right.
Absolutely.
We're stuck with it, but maybe someday, I don't know if that day will ever come, but it would sure be nice to get rid of it. It really doesn't do anything.
Do you want to field that question by Christopher Karansky?
What is the question?
Will the old member numbers be recognized / honored if they appear on the recruited by line of the membership application?
Yes, they will. We still have record of all of the old membership numbers. And as a matter of fact, when you log in, you'll see your new membership number at the top, and then down at the bottom, it will have a slot for your old membership number. And we are able to cross-reference that.
Okay.
But moving forward for the recruited by, it would be better if you use the new membership number, but we are still able to cross-reference it.
With VCDL,
about shooting, having more shooting competitions. Yeah, those are fun, and we've only done a few over the years. We have one that's done every year out in Roanoke. That's a benefit for VCDL, and that's a blast. That's sort of an IPVA kind of shooting, you go in. Basically, you've got groups of people, and they got all these stations set up. And the proceeds go to VCDL. Everybody gets a prize, kind of thing. It's wonderful. We have that every year. The Roanoke Rifle and Revolver Club, Rifle and Pistol Club, and we did that shoot recently. The bowling pin, that was fun. But that was a benefit for us. They do that thing regularly. But VCDL hasn't organized one of our own in years. It's a lot of effort to do that, but they're fun. We had a blast. We did one once in Culpeper years ago.
Let me use that bowling pin shoot to segue into one of the rules that we have, and that is there's rallies every single day in Richmond for something, and people generally, we've got myself and about 6 other mods that help run the Facebook pages and the chat and whatever. And people go, oh, there's a rally tomorrow about this statue, or we're going to have a 2A rally with Black Lives Matter, or we're going to do this rally and do that rally. We generally only advertise our rallies or rallies that benefit us, or shootouts that benefit us, or things that Philip or one of the board members or someone else is speaking for VCDL. We can't check on everything. We can't vet everything to make sure it's legit or that it's going to represent us properly. So we basically tell those people, advertise it on your own page. And many of our members they're cross members on many different platforms, they might come to your event. But for VCDL to say, come go to this event, and we know nothing about it, and Philip's not going to be there, and it's not ours, we just don't do that.
Yeah, and believe me, if we mean, there are people out there looking for any excuse to go after us. We're the target here for a lot of things. People that want to destroy our gun rights, they know that they really looking at anything they can do to go after us. And if we bless some rally somewhere and it turns out to be some disaster, they'll say, "Oh well, VCDL was backing behind this and sent people over there." So we've got to watch our back in a variety of different ways, and that's one way that we have to be careful. And again, we don't want to overload everybody, really. And if we published everything going on every day that we wanted, would you be able to even find the stuff that we're doing buried in that amount of stuff? No, we need to stay focused on what we do.
Yeah, and I can say the question about are we going to have another shoot? If you belong to a range and the range has matches and things, talk to the match directors and see if they're willing to set up a charity match to benefit VCDL. And that way it's convenient to you and it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Or as Kathy would say, or to benefit the VCDL pack.
That's true.
Except that we can't take anonymous contributions for the PAC. So anybody that donated money to the PAC would have to give their name and address, occupation, employer, and place of business. So.
But yeah, I mean, the people on the board are mostly shooters. So you give us a chance to shoot at something, we'll be there.
Oh yeah,
we go every weekend.
All right, Philip. So we're looking at 9:30ish. You each want to say something in closing?
Yeah, I guess I'll start. Yeah. Well, again, I thank everybody for being up here as we struggle through this COVID-19 thing. And being a part of this fight. I mean, it's going to be so important. But you guys, we can do this, and I'm always proud of gun owners. I meet people, our members all the time, and you couldn't meet a nicer group of people. So I just thank you for just being who you are. Just because I look at the other side and I thank my lucky stars. I don't have to. I'm not on their side of the fence. I have to deal with the lunatics they have to deal with. So. We'll keep you posted. We'll probably do this again. We're trying to do these every month. We'll probably do them regularly anyhow, but also on the day that we would normally have had. Tonight would have been the meeting in Annandale, and I think next month has been canceled too. So August is off the books, and we're going to be looking for another place. We're going to be doing this a little differently. So it'll be in a different location, whether it'll be near Annandale or whether it'll be somewhere completely different. The board is yet to discuss. So thank you for coming out. Appreciate it.
Pat?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining us and sharing the VCDL and the live videos with your friends. I'm excited about the new benefits that we're able to offer our members, and hope that you guys find value there. And if you have suggestions, let us know what they are. If you want to have a meeting in your area, let us, arrange a place where we can have a meeting and let us know, and we'll coordinate a date and a time. That's how we get things done.
Yeah, people say, well, we've never had a meeting in Manassas or something. I say, well, find us a place, we'll have a meeting there.
Yep.
I know that Philip and Pat put up the questions at vcdl.org if you have just general questions to ask them. And that's a great resource to use, as many people also just write directly on the VCDL Facebook page. And if it's something I can answer, I'll answer. But if it's something that leadership needs to look at, then go ahead and use the questions at VCDL. So thank you for joining us. Welcome again to our YouTube followers. Finally being able to see us live without having to wait till this meeting's over and then have us upload and not be able to ask the questions. So as long as we can do this and it worked out okay, we'll continue to do it in this fashion where we broadcast to both at the same time. All right.
Good night.